Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Micallef, and today I'll be going through some of the enhancements in reports and scorecards in Dundas BI 4. Just a few notes on this webinar. First, this webinar is focusing on new options and functionality available in Dundas BI 4 and doesn't cover the basics of reporting and scorecards of Dundas BI. If you are completely new to scorecards and reporting, I'd recommend that you watch some previous webinars or attend one of our demos. This webinar will be recorded and will be shared with you following the session, so you'll have a chance to review some of the demos and stuff that we have covered in this webinar later on. Please feel free to type in your questions in the webinar questions panel, and I'll do my best to address those during the session or revisit them towards the end of the session. Before we get started, I just want to give you a brief history of myself and how that ties into Dundas BI version 4 reports and scorecards. Previous to working for Dundas, I had over 9 years experience developing applications and designing reports with various tools. I've been a developer here at Dundas BI since version 1, and in July of last year I became lead developer of reporting for Dundas BI. My two main goals for version 4 were to improve the design experience, and the other was to add functionality to Dundas BI existent in other reporting tools that we were still lacking. Okay, now that you know a little more about where we were focusing and what we intended to improve on, let's get started with the demonstration. So I'm going to start off with the design experience. I began getting my hands dirty with creating some reports when I became lead developer, and I immediately began compiling a list of features that would help make designing reports and scorecards easier. And here's a list of some of the things that we've added. When designing dashboards, it's usually not as noticeable if two controls are slightly misaligned. The height of a control compared to another one is off by like 1 pixel. You don't really notice that. But due to the nature of reports and scorecards, alignment is really important. And we've added these features to help make this easier. So something very simple, being able to select all the adapters inside a template area was somewhat cumbersome because you had to use your mouse to drag, click and drag and select all the adapters. So we've implemented something really small but really makes life a lot easier. Just hitting Control A on a dashboard. Also, resizing things and aligning things. We've added align left, right, centers, tops, bottoms, and as well as matching heights and matching widths. So I'm going to go through like the first 3 points here on the report design UI. Oops. So I've got an empty report here, and I'm just going to add a few data labels or another label. So previously to DBI4, you'd have to basically click and drag and select this stuff. Sometimes it wasn't always the easiest because you start too low and you don't catch the full control and you don't get the selection. So now if you're inside a template area, just Control A and you get a full selection of everything that's in there. If you hit Control A again, you'll get everything in the entire report. So I want to do some alignment of these controls. Currently, this last control here is got a thicker outline to it. That means it's our master control for this, any changes that we're going to do. So if I choose to make something the same height, it's going to take the height of this. If I decide to align the bottom, it's going to take the bottom of this control. So let's go in here and align top. Or I'm going to match the height. So it just makes resizing things a lot easier Again, let's make everything the same width. So it just makes aligning things and moving things around and stuff like that just makes it easier to help design your report. Another thing that I found while designing reports was that when you're trying to nudge or make small adjustments to the location of a adapter, you couldn't quite tell where the other adapters around it were ending. So you'd end up with like text fields that overlapped, and it was a bit difficult because you couldn't quite figure out where other controls were located. So what we've done now is, as you're moving an adapter around, once you get in line with other controls within its vicinity, you'll start seeing the outline pop up. So it makes it a lot easier to nudge two labels together or underneath each other, etc. So previously you sort of have to move things around and then go and click on or mouse over another adapter and find out where that adapter where that adapter lied. So that just makes little things that help make the design experience a lot easier. Next, I'd like to show some new visual indications that we have inside the designer. First will be page break locations and visual indication of related template areas. So as you're designing your report and you're forcing a page break in between body elements, let me just add a repeater here. So we got our body element, and let me get rid of these guys. So I'm working on this report, and after every body template, after that's been rendered, I want to force a page break in when we generate our PDF. So we now get this little visual dotted line underneath the body section, and it'll show us where page breaks are. If you're working on a report maybe that someone else designed, or you've worked on a report and come back to visit it a few months later, sometimes it's not the easiest to figure out where you had placed these things, and it would require you going through one at a time, clicking on like each template area and checking where you've turned on the new page setting. So this just gives it to you nice and right up in visually inside the designer. I know here that every time that this body gets rendered, I'm going to get a page break afterwards. The second visual sort of indicator that we've added was to know what template areas are related to each other. So in a simple report, it's pretty easy. I know that I've only got this one grouping, so I know it's header, body, and footer. It gets a bit more difficult though once you start adding child groups or sibling groups. So just add, let's just add a child group here, and I can add another sibling underneath. So it starts to get pretty long and a bit difficult to know which template areas. Like I have this header and body here, but where's the footer that belongs to these guys? So if I click on this template area, I now get this change in color so that the currently selected template group is now different shades of blue. So I can scroll down and find, here's my footer and here's my second body template area. It just helps figure out what belongs to what repeating group. Again, this is the inner child group. Down here we got our sibling. So it just helps you quickly recognize what template areas belong to each other, belong to the same grouping. Something else that we added in V4 was when you're designing reports, you tend to, or even scorecards, you tend to have headers for things, little labels explaining what's going to be in the values underneath this. And previous to Dundas BI V4, you'd have to create these little headers manually. So you'd be creating your label inside your body area, and then you'd have to go and create a label in the header and go and type and name it, etc. We've taken the opportunity to just make this a bit easier in DBI4, where we're going to start creating the headers automatically once you start dragging something into the body area. So let me get rid of some of this extra. Let me remove this page break. All right, so we've got this report, and I'm drag my name column. So automatically we've gotten a new name header added to this, to the header area, and just makes it so much easier. I don't have to go and create that by myself. It's bolded, sort of default, what you'd expect when you're designing a report. So I can go in here and grab another field, drop it in there. I've got a header for that as well. Now, the little interesting here that I want to, interesting point that I want to make here is that because my name field was part of my grouping metric set, this header is actually a header control that allows you to do sorting and stuff like that, where this is just a sort of a simple label. So if I actually go and render this report, let's make this a bit nicer. Let me align tops here. If I go and view this report, I actually get this sort of, I can change the sorting of this, so it makes the report a bit dynamic. So this is something that you sort of get inside our standard sort of data tables. So we can change and, change the sorting and stuff on the report on the fly. Another nice little quick feature, this is only available in reports, where if you need to make the template area snap to the bottom of the content, you can just double click on the resizer and it'll nicely snap that to the bottom of the lowest control inside your template area. One other thing that I found while sort of working on reports and stuff was we have our current layer dockable, which shows us like all the adapters inside this report or the scorecard, or same thing in your dashboard. And it's not very easy to figure out previously where that label resided, under what template area. So what we've gone and done is we've added the actual templates into the layer tree. So if we go in here and we go into our layer dockable and expand this, we now start to see that we've got our template areas here. So we know that our page header control, or this header label, or this data label, we can see that they belong inside their respective template areas. And the template areas are automatically named according to the hierarchies that are used in the repeating groups. Just helps you recognize which groups these are, and kind of gives you like a little document outline. The second sort of area that we wanted to obviously improve on is adding more functionality to reporting. So this is the list of stuff that we've added in DBI4 with regards to reports and scorecard functionality. Previous to V4, if you had an adapter in a report or scorecard and there was no, that didn't retrieve any data for that specific tuple, that control would display a little no data icon. And you'd have to use a script or something to make the to hide that icon. In V4, we've actually created a property. It's available throughout reports, scorecards, dashboards, etc. The only difference is in a dashboard, this option is disabled. Inside reports, it's enabled. You don't want to have a report that has all these little icons saying no data, no data. So we've turned it on automatically. If I go back into our report, basically we've automatically, this is the new property, disabled no data. Just makes it the report nicer once you've actually view it and you exported it. You don't want to see these little icons saying that no data is available. Sort of what you're expecting to sort of see in a report. You don't, in a dashboard, it's something else where you want to attract attention that something might be missing here. In a report, it's going to be, you don't want to attract that attention to have this little icon everywhere. So our next feature is repeating a group header on a new page. So what happens is you've designed a report and you've got enough repetition that you overflow one page into another. And the problem is your second page, you start getting these labels, but you don't exactly know what they are. You have to go reference your first page again to see what that sort of header was for that. And that's a bit tedious and it's not very easy on users to be able to like grab a report and figure out, okay, I've gone to the third page, what does this column mean? So we've added the option to repeat the group headers on a new page. So if I take this report, I'm going to make this area a bit bigger so it overflows. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I go and generate a PDF of this, so we've overflowed onto the second page. And I mean, this is a pretty simple report. You sort of understand what these are, but someone who doesn't know what the report is or is looking at the report for the first time, they're like, what does this mean on the second page? So we've added the option that you can go to the header area, configure the group, and turn on show headers on new page. So I go and do that again. We're going to see different output this time. We're going to get our header area repeated on our second and third page. There we go. We've also added multiple template areas in V4. This comes in handy where you've got a bit of a more complicated report and I don't know, you might have so many labels on a row that you want to start sort of a second area and have these extra labels in a new area. You could just make that first template area larger and try to align things. But it also gives you the option of possibly even doing stuff like hiding a template area with a script or something and making a more dynamic report. Another area where this comes in very handy, we have had many people ask us this, is how can I get multiple dashboards exported in a single PDF? And I'm going to show you a little trick here that, well, not really a trick, but some of the functionality where this really helps us achieve this. So, oops, sorry. I'm just going to switch over to a empty report here. I'm going to add a template cell, 2 empty template cells after in our report header. So I'm not actually going to repeat this report by anything. I'm just sort of creating a sort of empty report here. And I'm going to go and I've got 2 dashboards that I want to export together in the same PDF. I'm going to change this. This is another point coming up a bit further, but I'm going to change this right now. I'm going to change the default of this report to landscape. Make this dashboard a bit bigger. I can basically click on the corners here and it'll snap out. And do the same here. I've got this other dashboard. So I've got these 2 dashboards sort of embedded in this report. So I can now go and share this. And as you can see, I changed the orientation default for this report to landscape. So that's what comes up now in my export for PDF. So the nice thing about this is that you get a consistent sort of report. You can use titles, page headers, etc. to keep the continuity between these dashboards. And you get nice additions. You can get page numbers. So people know that once you've handed a stack of print this off and you hand someone a stack of papers, they know that these are all belong together. It's hide and hide if empty. So previously to V4, basically if a template area didn't have any controls in it, we wouldn't render it. But there are some situations where you might want to just have a template area act as like a spacer in between while it's being rendered. And the only way to do this was a bit kludgy, where you could just add a label and not have any text in it, and that would make it render. But that wasn't ideal. I'd seen a few customers doing that, and I did not like seeing that. You shouldn't have to have kludgy ways to get around things. So we've added a couple of options. One is the hide if empty is actually a property, so that you can turn it on or off, so you can force something to show it. And then we have also added a actual force hide, like no matter what's in there, if it's empty or not, it will not be shown. So let me give you a quick preview of how those work. Go back to my, or I could do it here. So I've got, I don't know, I'm designing a report, and I've added a little section to this report just to verify something. I don't need the end user to ever get access to this. So basically I could go in here and I can just, oh, no, sorry, that was on the, let's make this guy smaller. So I can go on that template and I can force this to be hidden. So this will never render like this. So if I go in and actually just go into view mode, I'll see that I get my first dashboard and I don't get my second. Or in another case where this is an empty template area, by default it's hidden if empty option is turned on. If I were to drag something into it, this is automatically removed and it's not even actually available. But I actually want this. I want to, let's add a template area before. So I got this template area. I wanted to use it as like a spacer, but I don't want to add a label here to make this render. So I can basically turn that off. I'm going to just add some background color to this just so we can see it easier, and I can go and view. So I got that extra spacing. So you can do that to like add a spacer in between multiple lines, etc. Come back here. We've also added, let me get back to our slide, we've added a new labels dockable, which gives us some quick access to some metadata. So we can get stuff like a lot of reports, you want the current date and time on it, that when it's been generated. Or you might want to know the report name or the creation date. I know some ISO standards out there require that every report show a version number so that you can keep track of which version this report was printed from. So basically we've got this new labels dockable down here, and we've got these predefined labels, and they include some of these, like the page number and page number of total pages. Previously in before V4, if you deleted one of these, you'd have to create a label and just like retype that text with the square brackets and you'd get the functionality back. But we wanted to make it an easier experience. You don't want to have to remember this or have to open up a new report to get these things back. So just as an example, I'm going to take the current date and time, let me place it up here in the title. We just preview this. It just makes doing stuff like printed on date and time on your report in the PDF. You don't have to write any sort of scripting or anything to get that sort of information onto your report. Another interesting section in here is view parameter labels. So created this report. I'm going to add a template area before this, and I'm going to force a page break on it. So I'm going to create like sort of a title page. So I'm going to say on this title page, I want to show what sort of what this report is filtered by or something like that. So I'm going to go and create a filter for this report. And I can go into our label and I can go here and add some text. So currently I've run the report. I've got my all departments selected. I'm going to go and change my filters. This report is going to be showing document control, engineering, and executive now. So I get that data visible. Just allows people to understand what's the content of this report. So it's just a way to get those filters out to the end user of the report in the PDF. They don't know how this report was actually run. They don't know if there was possibly more departments, etc. So this lets them know that this report was generated and filtered by these members. So I sort of went into this and when I was showing how to export multiple dashboards together. Report size is now set according to standard paper formats and orientation. Previous to V4, we allowed users to sort of set whatever size they wanted for report, and this caused a few issues when generating our final PDF. What we've done is we've gone through and actually set actual pre-sized paper sizes, and we automatically adjust your report to meet that size. So I was showing it, I went into it before, but if you go onto the report and you go into the layout, you now get a paper size. So I can go and choose something like a tabloid and go to like landscape, and the report will automatically adjust. So that way you know that the size that you're working with in your report will be compatible with this sort of paper size. And the good thing with this is that you've designed your report, you know that this is the paper size you want it to export with. When you actually go to share, it's actually going to be defaulted for when you go to the PDF settings. And last but not least, this is probably one of our favorite functions added to the report functionality. Subcanvas linking is what it's sort of called. What it allows us to do is, remember that dashboard that we had on there with our country data. It allows us to do something like repeat that dashboard multiple times and change the filtering inside that dashboard. So I can do something like get a report for all the countries that we sell in, or something like that. So let me go back here. I don't need this. I don't need this extra template area. Same here. So I've got this dashboard. So I want to repeat this. So I'm going to go and actually take sorry. Start that again. Where is my... Sorry, just got to create my data connector again. I seem to have lost it. I'm going to take customer geography country. I'm going to go and grab that dashboard again. So what I want to do here is have this dashboard repeat itself for every country that I've got inside this hierarchy. So I go onto this subcanvas and I'm going to go and set up some repeater mappings. So I'm going to say for my repeater group, I want the current filter value, and I'm going to pass it to my country parameter in my dashboard. Quick little setup. I can go to view. And now I get this dashboard repeated multiple times, one for each country. So Australia, Canada, France, Germany. I could go back into, let me actually just share that PDF. I don't want it in portrait mode. I'm going to change that over to landscape, make this a bit bigger. Share PDF. And we get quick report with multiple dashboards filtered differently according to our repeater group. A very powerful addition that we've added there. One quick thing to note, you don't want to be doing this and generating a dashboard for like a thousand different hierarchy members. It will put a bit of load retrieving all that data and generating that report. So I mean, you want to be reasonable with this, but it's a really little powerful tool to be able to sort of generate multiple dashboards with different filters. That's all the functionality and the user experience that we added to user experience features that we added to Dundas BI 4. What's up next? We've got 2 more sessions coming up. Integration, the embed library, and federated claims-based authentication webinar coming up, as well as a new visualizations webinar. So it's going to be new and enhanced data visualization features. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Okay, I got a question here. Can we use the repeater if we have multi-tenants and I'm filtering on the data cube level using custom attributes? Yes, you can. So basically what you when you're using the custom attributes, you'll have that the custom attribute will show up as a filter, one of the filter tokens. So you'll be able to set that up as your default, and it will only it'll only repeat the actual report members and render the actual report only for those filters that have been set up in that custom attribute. So the label dockable is not available in the scorecard. Mainly those labels are really intended for reports. We haven't come up with a sort of user scenario where we'd want to show the current version, or the current date time might be handy, but that's probably more of like on a dashboard level rather than in the scorecard. If we can maybe send us an email, Ryan, we can maybe have a look at what we might be able to introduce a subset of those maybe onto the scorecard. What about formatting numbers to other type of data? I don't know what at the end through will be shown as. Zero. That doesn't seem like it's something that you'll be able to do directly from inside the report designer. That sort of sounds like you would have to do that either in the data cube layer or using a calculated element. is there any way to change the metric set for table or chart instead of deleting it and recreating? In V4, we've introduced a new feature called rewiring. I'm not really going to get into that in this demo, but it does allow you to sort of point a metric set to a different data connector or a different source. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so if I have a client, question is, so if I have a client name and devices, every client can see his own devices, only the filter is client name. I can get in one report all my clients and all the devices for each client. So you'd be able to achieve something like that using the custom attributes. So each user would have their own set of custom attributes. You'd have a certain set of filtering set up in that, whereas for like your admin user, or you would be able to have the all token, and you'd basically get everything. Okay, Ryan, so your question was to convert something from like 50, the number 50 and 50 into 50 seconds. So yes, you can do that at the data cube level. You can create a custom calculated element, and you'd be able to manipulate that. And basically, you're going to be writing almost C# code there, and you can sort of manipulate that as however you wish. All right, there are a few more questions in here. I'll try to get back to you guys. I'll go through the rest of them, and we'll try to get some emails out answering any more of those questions that we have that I wasn't able to answer right now at the end of this demonstration. Thank you. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out at info@dundas.com, or log into go to our website www.dundas.com, and you can look up some more webinars and other features and stuff like that there. Thank you. Have a good day.